Thanks everyone for joining us today. Right now we're hosting the OCFSN Equity Assessment Info Session. For folks who aren't familiar with me, my name is Shin, and I am the network coordinator. And then we also have Jazz, who is our equity advisor, and they'll be leading us through a presentation just to get everyone acquainted and grounded through this process. So I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Shin. Hi, everybody. My name is Jazz. I'm the equity advisor for Oregon Community Food Systems Network. I've been working really closely with the DEI committee since I truly do not know what month of last year, but it's been quite a while. It's been probably about 10 months maybe. So we've been working together to co-create an equity assessment for the network. And so this meeting is an opportunity to get some background information about the process, what to expect, and just some general information about the equity assessment. So that's why we're here today. I'm going to be running through a presentation, and then we'll have some opportunity for discussion. So that's basically the structure surrounding today. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna do a little brief introduction activity, and then we'll get into logistics if that feels good for everyone. Before I share my screen, does anybody have any questions, concerns? Cool beans. All right, I'm gonna start getting into it. Let's see. One sec. All right. All right, so pretend like you don't see the end of the presentation. I was just running through it. But I'm gonna start from the beginning with it. So I was thinking that a little icebreaker and introduction that we could do is if everybody could say their name and pronouns, and then we can pick any item in a surface around us and give us a 30-second pitch on why you think it would help you survive on a deserted island. So I can do an example of this. My name is Jazz. I use they, them pronouns, and I don't have much going on my desk, but I have this corn that I like to kind of like play with. And it's not that old, so I could use it for seed, and I can grow some corn to eat for later. So, or I could like pop it, make popcorn. So that's my pitch. And I'll let everybody else go. Maybe after the first person goes, they can call on the next person just so we can keep the flow going. So I'm going to mute myself.
I could go because I had an immediate ridiculous answer and immediate serious one. So I'm Yana. My pronouns are she, her. Don't know what that was. She, sure. So the practical answer would be my cup, because of course you can collect water and whatnot. But what I actually thought, the first thing was this stack of Post-it notes, which helped me organize my brain. And so actually this would help me survive pretty much anywhere, because it could help me gather my thoughts in a coherent sort of way. So that is my answer. And I will call on, I know hardly anybody on this call. This is great. How about Christina?
Thanks, Yana. Christina, she, her pronouns. I feel like I have a small beeswax candle that's partially burnt. So I might have light for an hour or two one night, and that could be really important. So let's hope I'm rescued after the first night. How about Carol?
Hi, everyone. I'm Carol, and my pronouns are they, them. And I found two really good items, and I don't know which one to go with, but I feel like this would be pretty good. So I've been dog sitting for some friends, and they gave me this cute little care package that happens to be on my desk. And one of the items is a little soap, like an olive oil soap. And I feel like there'd be lots of water, hopefully, if we're on an island, although it's salt water, so that might be a little weird. But if I need some cleansing or need to, I don't know, maybe I won't really be so concerned about how I smell or anything. The other item is this lovely Betty White candle that I would need to figure out how to light, but that could potentially be very valuable if I could figure out a way to, I don't know, figure out how to start fire. And I will choose, let's see, how about Sarah?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Miller. I use she, her pronouns. And this was the first thing I saw when I looked at my desk after rushing in the door. It says coping with stress in tough times. This is from, I think that it's self-explanatory why it could be helpful in this situation, but the context for me is also that it's part of my QPR training, which is like CPR for mental health, which I decided I needed to do as a person who works with businesses and communities in agriculture. So I learned about it through the Beginning Farmer Rancher team at OCFSN. And I will pass. I don't know who, I came late. Can you help me, Shin? Who hasn't gone yet?
Absolutely. I guess since I am muted, I will just go and then pick the next person. So luckily, I have a pair of scissors, and there's a lot of stuff on my desk, so it's actually really hard to pick something. But I think scissors because it's multi-purpose and very practical. So I'm gonna go with that this time. How about Michelle?
Maybe. Michelle, she, her pronouns. And those of you with candles are incredibly lucky because I looked over on my coffee table and there's a candle lighter, a like flicker candle lighter, because last night I had a candle that I hadn't lit and my spouse really wanted to know if it smelled the same burning or not. And he did not put the candle lighter away. So we are lucky because it is sitting on my coffee table. So we can light those candles and maybe make some other fire once we get those candles lit too, that will burn longer. So I'm going to hand it off to Lindsay.
Thanks, Michelle. My name is Lindsay Grosvenor. I use she, her pronouns. I'm actually really impressed by all of these amazing answers. And I should be embarrassed. I don't know, maybe I should be embarrassed because I don't know how I'll respond. But my office, I actually share, it's my husband's hunt. We call it his hunting room. So my son and my husband both hunt. And there's actually a gun that's still laying out on the bed that hasn't been put away that I earlier asked, like, what is this gun doing now? I don't know what he was doing, cleaning it or whatever. It's a hunting, some type of, I don't even know what kind of gun it is. I don't touch it, but I'm going to need to eat. We're going to need to eat on this island. And so, I don't know if I'm the best fisher person. So I thought if there's any wild animals, maybe some wild boar or something on the island, we could eat that. And I don't know who else is left. Did Rose go?
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm just looking around. Yeah, so I'm Rose Highbear. I usually identify myself as Degatondene. I'm Alaskan Athabaskan and Inupiat. So people say, well, what is in your thingies? Because we're supposed to say he, she, but I say Degatondene Inupiat. So as a subsistent, I come from a subsistence family in Alaska, you know, we're moose hunters and all that, fisher people. And I don't have anything in front of me like that, but the only real thing I realize is the only thing I have here is my spirit and my prayers. So I would take my prayers to the island and I would pray to Great Spirit that I could survive the experience. I know I can't take my laptop, right? Can't take my cell phone. So there you have it. And so do I get to choose somebody? Did Yana go yet?
I did, Rose, thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. And then EEC, there you are. Hi.
Ecole, hi, thank you. Yes, my name is Ecole Koppen. I use she, her pronouns, and I have this awesome gift that somebody gave me that I'm going to say it's one thing, but it actually has many things in it. It's got chopsticks and a spoon and a straw and a knife and a fork. And I think that would come in handy in a lot of ways on an island. So for many different reasons. Thank you. And then Amber, wait, I thought I saw Amber here. Amber Henson, are you still on the call?
Amber had to drop off. We can go with another A though.
Okay.
We can have Adriana.
Here we go, Adriana. Thank you, Shin.
Oh, wow. If you can't tell, I'm in an office that is not mine. So really all I have here is this water bottle, but I'm Adriana, she, her pronouns. I work at Oregon Food Bank and I actually have no idea this camera. Hello there. Great to be here with you all and I'll pass it to Christina.
Let's see. I went and I have it on speaker view. So jump in, whoever hasn't gone.
I think Miriam or Ken.
I will go. I'm Ken. I use he, him pronouns. And I would take with me an amazing book. You can't see it, I'm holding it up. Called Black, White, and the Gray, written by Chef Mashama Bailey. It's about race, dynamics, money as used by power, trust, finding your voice through food and finding your culture through food. And that book would help keep me sane. And Shin, how about you?
Oh, I'm bringing scissors. So multi-purpose. Miriam, I think you might be I think Carrie or Miriam.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I don't have very good internet, but I will give this a try. Well, probably the most unusual thing on my desk is this bag of dirt because I'm getting my soil samples ready to send to the lab. And so as a farmer who grows food, I would say that bringing my healthy organic soil, maybe Jazz and I would be on the same island and we could grow her corn in my organic rich soil. Oh, and I think you said Miriam is next. Okay.
Hi, everybody. This is Miriam. I use she, her pronouns, and I am in my van in New York State. Neither of those are like desert island scenarios. And I will be here briefly tonight, but I've been really excited to work on this equity assessment, and I'm really curious to hear what comes out of this. Thank you all.
Thank you everyone for sharing. Jazz, I'll bring it back.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I feel like we're pretty prepared. I think, we could make it out there. Who knows if we were all together, definitely. So we're going to dive into the more content heavy portion of our gathering today. I'm going to go over some details and background about the equity assessment that's coming up here soon. And then we're going to have some opportunity for discussion and questions and comments after I say a few things. So I'm going to start, and if there are any things along the way, any questions along the way, feel free to unmute yourself. It's kind of harder to manage the chat when I'm sharing the screen, and then we'll also know that we have opportunities for questions and comments at the end. So I'm gonna get it going. This is just a little slide about the background of how we started this project and the kind of why of how we started this project. About 11 months ago, I started working with the DEI committee as an equity advisor. And the role of this advisor was kind of to support with the restructuring of the network and providing training opportunities about equity and anti-racism, and then creating harm and accountability policies. And when we got together and kind of started to talk, we collectively decided that in order to go forward, it would make the most sense to conduct a network-wide equity assessment, kind of just to get a feel for what structures were currently existing and where other equity work could be done. And it's also a great opportunity for folks in the network to give feedback surrounding the ways that we currently operate in the network, and to be able to incorporate that into the assessment, action plan, and then later the strategic plan that we'll be doing. So the past 11 months, we've just worked collaboratively to assess committee goals. And then we created an equity assessment from scratch. And yeah, we're here. We have the engagement and implementation plan, and we're ready to roll it out. So after the equity assessment is rolled out and the data is analyzed, we're going to create an action plan and then integrate the findings into the upcoming strategic planning process.
And then I just want to add it in one little bit of context regarding the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee overall. This is one of the only working groups for the network right now, which requires an application to join. And there are a few folks who are part of the committee on the call right now, myself, as well as Yana and Rose and Miriam on the call, and a handful of other folks. And then we're always looking for other additional DEI committee members, and there's an application that's on our website. So just wanted to share that as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Shin. So this, pardon me, y'all, my voice is kind of going away, but so about assessment goals, when we were creating the assessment, we started with brainstorming goals that we'd want to achieve by by absorbing this information, like what do we want to know? And so a lot of these goals were included in the assessment. We wanted to gather information that will support in the restructuring of the network, do ground truthing surrounding shared values and power dynamics, engage diverse perspectives and voices before the enacting of the systemic change that would happen with the equity assessment, open up spaces for sharing to promote accountability, and then get a baseline network equity analysis so that we can measure improvement over time, and then assess where there is room for improvement within our network structures, and gather information that will support the upcoming strategic planning process. So all of this is to say, we wanted to support a larger goal of making the network a more generative and equitable space for Black and Brown community members and encourage more collaboration with culturally specific organizations. Yeah. So some little assessment logistics is, so we'll send out the equity assessment. It will be in a Google form. We're going to be sending it to the network in its entirety, meaning the board, the leadership team, all of the working groups. And then I think it's just kind of put out there for anybody who's actively engaged in the network to engage. So it'll take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes to complete. I think that it could potentially take more on the shorter side, doing this last edit, and then it will be a mix of short answer and multiple choice questions. All the questions are optional, and the assessment should be submitted by March 10th. Just some themes and what to expect surrounding the questions. So the themes that we're going to see are the Oregon Community Food Systems Network mission, vision, and values, things about network leaders, membership, power dynamics, the network's external impact, relationship building, racial equity, participation, barriers, and space creation. And then there's free space for any additional input that folks will want to put in there. And then in terms of a timeline, we're looking at February, we're going to roll out the assessment to the network, and then we're wanting to close it by March 10th. And then March and April would be collecting and compiling the feedback and some data analysis. And then May and June, we would start creating the action plan. And then June would be the rollout of the action plan. And then through December, it would be beginning implementation. Before I move on, does anybody have any just like questions or comments? I know I'm moving through this part relatively quickly because I'm hoping we can have some time for discussion. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So we've set out a couple of events and important dates and different ways of engagement. So, we have the equity assessment launch, which hopefully will come out within the next few days. I think we're going to have to kind of circle around that, but I think it should come out here soon. And then we have like the equity info sessions and then the equity assessment completing on March 10th. And then we also have opportunities for folks to participate in assessment discussion groups where you can come and talk about questions you have about the assessment. I'll be there. And then you can also kind of maybe work through things that you're having with other members that are completing the assessment. And so we'll have one of those on February 17th, and then we'll have a BIPOC only discussion group on March 2nd. So this is where I wanted to pause and have some discussion time. I wanted to see if there are any comments, ideas, feelings that are coming up, or questions. Yeah, I think I can stop sharing the screen so folks can see each other. And then, yeah.
I have a question, Jess. It's
Yeah, Miriam.
I'm curious how many people showed up at the BIPOC only session, and I was able to read Michelle's responses, and I was just curious about some of the other responses. Thanks.
Yeah, I would say about, would you say about like 10 to 12 folks is right, Shin? I didn't have exact numbers, to be honest.
Yeah, it was also a fairly small group.
Yeah, I would say about 10 to 12 people came for the BIPOC info session that we had a couple weeks ago. And I think that a lot of the feedback we got was just surrounding process of like wanting to feel included in the making of the questions. And so we sent the draft that we had of the equity assessment to a few folks in that group to provide feedback. And then I think there will also be built-in opportunities for folks to share more as they engage with the equity assessment. That seemed to be like an overarching theme, but Shin, if you have more things to add, feel free.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I would add is wanting to make sure that whatever information and whatever questions were being asked were things that would be able to be actionable and, you know, help inform what do we do with this. And, you know, I think it's hard to anticipate exactly what we'll learn, but also knowing that this is an ongoing process. It's not something that is going to be like a one and done. And I think that what we're trying to achieve here is collecting a baseline for 2023 and then being able to continuously modify and work with that as we learn, as we know more and build up more of a skill set around it. Carrie, how many responses are you hoping to collect on this assessment and what geographical location will it reach? So the goal of this equity assessment is really for folks who are actively engaged in the network right now, because it's trying to just gather that baseline. So wanting to make sure that folks who are in positions of leadership or like more influence, for example, staff, the leadership team, the board, as well as like working group coordinators, and then anyone else who's participated in, excuse me, in any of our events, like the convenings, gatherings, or working groups. And obviously that's not going to cover everyone who's within the food system, working within the food system or interacting or impacted by it. And, you know, that we're definitely aware of. So hoping to get as many people to respond, and also knowing that we're not going to be able to reach everyone, but hopefully having more context as to who's participating, or if not, then where do we need to modify the ways that we are outreaching afterwards. Oh, and the other piece of it too is we are the answers to the survey are you don't have, wow, words. People can answer the survey anonymously, so you do not have to disclose who you are, but you also have an option of sharing if you want to share your contact information. That's also an option. And there will be a raffle because, you know, it is sometimes, I think many of us know it is challenging to get survey responses because it feels like there's always, you know, a lot of those asks. And yeah.
Yep. Any more general feelings, questions, thoughts?
I'll share something. What I'm thinking of is I very much appreciate all of the contributions that people have made to get the project, get this work, move this work, help this work, nourish this work. I'm glad that we're at this point, and I look forward to the rest of what we can learn. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Hmm? Oh, all right. Anything else?
I'm curious, since we have a Lindsay just asked, will the survey go out to anyone who has interacted with OCFSN before, not just internal? No, not a silly question at all. I think our priority is to make sure that the aforementioned groups that I aimed for, who have, some level of power within the organization, we would really like those folks to make sure that they respond. But really, I think it's anyone who has interacted with OCFSN, because this network is, I think, in a lot of ways, very liquid is not the right word, but it's fluid. There we go. So I think there are a lot of partners, and there are folks that kind of come in and out or engage in different spaces. And I think all of those things are relevant, whether or not it's experiences that have happened within the past year, though that is what we're encouraging, because, I think in terms of just having actual staff with a network, just being able to have a little bit of history or context, but also we don't want erasure of anything that maybe was suboptimal or problematic about past events or engagements as well. And I think all of that, if people have the time and energy to share, all of that is just more data for us to grow with. And I think the only other question that I'm curious about, since we have some folks on the call right now, is, do the organizations that y'all are working on right now or with have a regular kind of equity programming or assessment, some kind of, how does that look in your organizations or the spaces that you move through?
I can share just one example for the Northeast Oregon Economic Development District, which is where I am in the northeast corner of the state, and that is through our individual development account program. We're in the VITA Collaborative, and we do have periodic network engagement around equity, both in terms of training opportunities, but also some periodic assessments, and then some changes and programmatic changes, things trying to figure out how to do some of the ideas that people have for achieving some of the goals that where we would like to be from where we are. And that's been helpful for us.
Thanks for sharing, Sarah.
Hi, Shen. I work primarily with restaurants, consulting with them, and I have helped a number of restaurants. I'm a very strong believer in employee-led race, diversity, equity, and inclusion groups, convening kind of frontline staff, excluding executive leadership and management, and then forming a group that tackles DEI issues and giving the elected leader of that group a seat at the executive team meetings to discuss issues that affect all of the employment.
Thanks for sharing, Ken.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to share?
Well,
Otherwise,
this is Rose. I could say something, although I'm always I feel somewhat uncomfortable because I always feel like I might be slightly irrelevant. But as a Native American nonprofit, we bring up what we call race reconciliation constantly. We work with people, not just our staff, our board, but also our interns and externs. We work with them to bring a lot of health and wellness to them. So our viewpoint on DEI is always inside out. And I always feel slightly uncomfortable mentioning it, but I do believe it always needs to be a positive conversation. And so what we've always said, and you've probably heard me say this before, that what we try to do is raise awareness and understanding of Native American history, culture, experience, TEK, and et cetera, including our habitat restoration and our regenerative farming practices. We try to raise awareness and understanding of that in order to increase appreciation and respect. And so we're bringing it up constantly, raising awareness of our own staff so we can heal and help other people. So I don't know if that's what you wanted to hear today, but we do bring it up at least every week. We have meetings every morning, and we usually start with like a circle of greetings, and we smudge and we do, Native American start. And so it is something that comes up very often, and we feel that it's really healthy to raise it and be direct about it, and also always be positive about it. Thank you.
thanks for sharing, Rose. And yeah, I agree with Yana. That was definitely not irrelevant. And I think your point of it being a part of the everyday, weekly, just there's such an intersection. And I think in dominant culture, it's really easy to kind of try to section things into neat packages, and that's not really how it works. And thank you for sharing that.
I could say a little bit about what we're up to on this front. I mean, I think like a lot of organizations that are predominantly white, we have some attention on, hiring practices and board recruitment practices. And so that's just like, to me, that's just kind of in the background. I'm always kind of thinking about that. But a lot of our equity stuff is actually focused on food access, and it ends up being more directly filtered through a class lens than a race lens. Making sure that our market is accepting SNAP benefits and double up food bucks, and also pursuing multiple things for like internal match programs and, access programs. And then more specifically in terms of racial equity, one of the things that we're doing this year is we've started a 4-pronged Spanish speaking community outreach program that includes hiring someone who is Spanish speaking to be available at our markets and translating everything. We just got a grant to be able to do full translation of our website, our market portal, all of our outreach materials into Spanish. And then that same staff person is also going to be going out and doing active outreach. But one of the things that we're doing that I think is a little bit different, and we'll see how relevant it ends up being, but we're doing an experiment right now where we're actually trying to increase everyone on the staff's Spanish fluency. And so we're doing a thing where every week we're going to start bringing somebody in once a week to just have lunch with us who's a Spanish tutor, and just have 1 hour a week where we speak Spanish. And everybody speaks a little bit already, but we're wanting to not put the burden just on a person who is Latina, but actually have the entire staff be working on building our capacity across the board. I think the other thing that we do, which we talk about a little, but I'm trying to do a lot more with, is using Tema Okun's white supremacy culture framework, and actually spending a lot of time just like coaching people out of like internalized white supremacy and capitalism attitudes with themselves. And so I spend a fair bit of time on staff just pointing out like, hey, I think that's this internalized crap speaking, like let's kind of back away from that. And yeah, so those are some of the things that we're up to.
Thanks for sharing that, Yana. Has anything else come up for folks just through some of these ideas, or whether it might be questions now that might have come up, or any other experiences that folks want to share? Otherwise, we're happy to give everyone back 15 minutes.
Jazz, did you get through all of your slides, or were there still a few left? I was thinking there were a couple, but
There was just kind of a slide about next steps. Just saying that the equity assessment would be coming out within the next few days. And then I was gonna post my email in the chat if anybody had any questions, maybe that they wanted to talk about privately, or wanted to reach out individually. Yeah, I think that is pretty much it. If nobody else has anything to share, like Shin said, I definitely would be willing to give you all your 15 minutes back. Yeah.